right. We're going to get started a little bit slowly here for a second. First thing we're going to do today is we're going to watch David build a stream in OBS. Let me open up all our chat so I can answer comments here. Beautiful, beautiful. All right, what should we start with? Maybe a chessboard? That's a good start. Should we include Kostya and Camille on the side here? Maybe. Let's see what we can do with this. Hey, Skibix, first one in. All right, you know what? That is going to take up all the space from my face, so let's start with a square board, and then we'll see about adding in who's playing who a little bit later. Move this over a touch. All right. What should we add next? Maybe we'll add who's playing. So we'll add a screen capture again. Add existing. This one. Beep. What am I going to do with this piece, huh? Put it down over here for now. Okay. It's not a good start, but it's a start, right? So I'll put that there. See what would happen if I click to another board. Then we've got Matt here, and we can see Matthew Pritchard white against Miguel on Andrade or Andra something. You hear me super low? Okay, let's check on this mic here. It's the right mic. Huh. You hear me super low? Yeah, it does look like it's not super high. Let me check something on it. Thanks for the feedback. Skibix. Hey, Magyar Zerker. Okay, output volume. Test, test, test. Did that make a difference, Skibix? And or is that in the realm of normal or reasonable? Hi! Oh my god, he's big! Alright. Let's cut him down to size here a little bit. Crazy guy. There we go. That's reasonable. Caruana's podcast partner. Okay. That's reasonable. I could turn it up a little bit more if you want. Hey, Profiteer. All right. So now, check it out. Now we're going to get super fancy. And over here, we're going to go to YouTube. We're going to get a web source here. Hey, Gaurav, how are you doing today? Kostya Kavutsky is live. Come on. Come on, bring it up. All right. Now, right now we're at -0. We want to go to -10 or so. You know, how much delay do we think there is? Hard to say, huh? It's not going to be easy to coordinate this. Okay, let me go to Kostya's board. Pawn on c5, yes. Bishop on f4, yes. Has he played e3 yet? It's before she played bishop b7, so I'm going to go back a little bit further. Wait, no, we want her to have played bishop b7, right? Bishop b7, Kostya's thinking, then at some point he plays e3 and hits the clock. Seems fine. All right. Let's add this. Broke the losing streak. All right, it only took a day, Leviathan. So check this out. We're going to add another screen capture, I guess. We'll call it Kostya YouTube. Whoa, it's going crazy. All right, window capture. Okay. The odds are my computer's just going to die at some point with everything that we're going to ask of it here, but, you know, we'll try. We'll try before we give up. Do. Building a scene. How's it going, folks? Let's put this on here. Beautiful. All right, now we got Kostya's name on his name tag. I wish I was in Portugal, says Maia Zerker. Yeah, you and me. Oh, you got some tournaments. All right. I'm going to change a little thing about Kostya's text, which is we're going to select the color. We're going to go from white to black. Whoa. Okay, let's make his name really cool. Color 2. Let's give him a purple look. Oh, yeah. Kostya Kavutsky. Let's make it even better. Select a better font. Baskerville? Hounds of Baskervilles? Oh, yeah. Now that's pretty. Whew. I'm gonna grab another video. Oh yeah, this is looking good. Oh, Matt's got a little kid playing in front of like an empty movie theater or something. Let's do it. Wait. Let's add one more thing in here. Let's get Matt on stream. Do, 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 do. Nope, that's my own show. There we go. Look on this kid and fear and despair, everybody. If you went to a chess tournament, you might face a little kid just like this. Oh, man. Brutal. Brutal. Everybody doing okay with me just working OBS? Hey, Sushant. Welcome into the show. Everybody doing okay? Let's add Matt's name in here. We're going to make this beautiful. Matthew Pritchard. I'm going to select a font for him. We're going to give him the same thing as we gave Kostya. Baskerville. Wait. Baskerville semi-bold, right? Mm-hmm. Then, color 1. Select color. Black. Color. Okay. Color 2. Purple. Okay, Matt. Looking good, Matt. Ooh, yeah.
Hey, David.
What up?
I'm gonna go to Udupi Palace or Castle. You got anything and/or wanna come?
Amazing. Oh my god.
I can bring you back food if you can't make it.
Yeah, I'm streaming. Ugh. You would bring me something? That would be amazing. Veggie biryani?
That's what you want? Sure, easy. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Okay, bye.
Bye. Have fun. Enjoy. Am I good at this, Magyar Zerker? The OBS thing? Do you like this? Scene appearing in front of your eyes here? That's very kind of you to say. All right. What do we think of this border? Maybe we don't need quite this border here. We can come in a little tighter on our board. Just make it a tiny ring like that. And that sounds like a big dog. It's a tiny dog. Yeah. You want to see the dog, Skivix? Come here, please. Come here. This little girl made the big bark. There's no such thing as vegetable biryani? Okay, Gaurav. I trust you, but I'm also going to eat it today. Can you tell me more about vegetable biryani? It's a topic I'm very interested in. Tell me more about it. Should I add just like a little info here, like the time control or something? Let's figure out the time control. That's worth knowing, right? 90, 40, 30 minutes for the game. Same as the Sinkfield Cup. Kostya back at his board? Kostya's not at his board. Oh, he is at his board. There we go. Kostya at the board. Okay. Looks like Camille is from Switzerland, and she played the Nimzo Indian against Kostya. So he's got the bishop pair here. Oh no, not quite the Nimzo Indian. Look at this. Bishop b4. The Bogo Indian. Without meat, it's pulao. Okay. So I'm getting vegetable pulao, Gaurav? Oh, look at that. Kostya making... This is going to be my first chess comment about this game. Kostya may be making a big move into the weak dark squares. Black's probably relying on knight e4 to cover things in a moment, right? Like, let's say takes bishop here, knight e4. Right? Well, I can add the tournament sounds if you want. I think there's basically no delay, so I'm just going to go to live on their videos. Okay. I'm going to go live on their videos. Gaurav, if we went to the restaurant and asked for vegetable pulao, when on the menu it says vegetable biryani, would they understand? Would they give me what I want? DGT board went crazy or Anushka blundered. So we've got some other games here. Here's Anushka's game. Here's Matthew's game. Matthew plays the French as black. And so here he's facing it as white, which is good news for him. It means he definitely knows what he's doing. And this move here, horrendous from his opponent in the opening, right? Just giving him free reign with this center. Now, Matthew's being careful here. He doesn't know if f4 is going to block in his bishop or if he's going to need f4 to keep his space advantage against black playing f6. So you see, he's not yet committing to either knight f3 or f4. You see, if he plays knight f3, he can't bring the f-pawn. If he brings the f-pawn, he can't get it out of the way again, right? He can't retract it. So this is a beautiful, beautiful move 10 by Matthew Purchard here. Idea to bring a knight or a queen to h5, and black gives him g6. Oh, the weaknesses. Now I think Matt can go knight f3 and not move the f-pawn, right? I don't think he needs the f-pawn now. We'll see what he does. Yes, knight f3. Oh, it's starting great for Matthew. This is his live position. We've caught up with his video. Do you guys all see Matthew down there in that corner? Okay. For anyone who doesn't know, Matthew Purchard not only is a dojoer in the sense that he studies on Chess Dojo, he's also a dojoer in the sense that he works on staff for us. He is our marketer, you know, trying to get the word out to people about Chess Dojo. He helped us put together ads and put them around on the internet and stuff like that. So Matt is a member of our team. We're super, super happy to have him with us for about 8 months now. And it's just been a joy to spend time with him, folks. Like when I get to talk to him, you know, on the back end in little like meetings and this and that, he's such a wonderful and lovely person. So Really fun and exciting to see him playing here and getting a great start on his first game. This little kid is rated about 1,500. Never get fooled by that kind of thing on a kid. For all you know, the kid could be 21, 2,200 level, or he could be 1,500 or 1,800. Honestly, the least likely is that he's actually 1,500. Miguel is from Portugal. Miguel Andrade, I guess the last name. So he's a local player playing at home. Matt had to travel here from the English Channel. But he's got a great start on this game. The position looking lovely. And Black's going to pawn storm Matthew, and he can't oppose the queenside forever, but he can checkmate the king, and Black can't oppose that. What I would probably start with here is bishop h6, just nudging one more piece away from the king and getting into those weak squares. And then what's the attacking plan? I'm not sure immediately. Let's click around a little bit, see some of our other boards. Another Dojo'er, Rachel, is up against fellow streamer Hannah Sace. So Rachel's got Black here, and what is going on? Knight takes e5, some kind of fancy piece sack fork in the center in the opening. Let's check this again real quick. Knight f6, d3, b5. Everything looks fine. Castles. No, you don't have time for this h6. And d5 with the king in the center. Rachel lost her mind at the very beginning of this game. Oof. Yeah. Woman down. Woman down. She is instantly put to the sword by Hannah. So Gaurav, it's an Indian restaurant. I don't know if they're Southern Indian or North Indian, but it's a vegetarian restaurant. It's the best Indian restaurant in Berkeley, in my opinion. One of their specialties is dosa. That would probably tell us what part of India they're from, right? South Indian, I guess. If Black ever castles, it will then hit the rook. D4. And the brutality of it is, like, when one of these pieces gets captured, the knight's going to be hanging as well over here on d5, right? Oh, it's just, like, brutal, right? Like, if you take, queen takes, you lose a second piece, right? If you move away your bishop, pawn takes, you lose another piece. It's just... there's not much you can do to recover from this. Like, essentially, you're dead at this point. You have to go down at least a full pawn. Probably the bishop pair. I don't even know if you're going to get castled. Like, basically, you have to allow d4 and probably just castle. Let them take whichever piece they want, and then defend the knight on d5. So maybe the best you can do is Black. d4 played. Rook e1's probably also fine for white, but d4 is much better. So yeah, Skibix and I are on the same page. You have to bite the bullet and just castle. Let white take the piece they want, and then maybe develop bishop b7 to defend your knight, and just play the game down a pawn. Yeah. Oof. Okay. Chat says they've seen Kostya make a move, so we're going to bounce over there. We're going to bounce around and try and catch up on all these boards. So Kostya played dc5, bc5, and simple bishop e2. And now we see Camille. She's got a great thinking pose, Camille. Love to see that. So good work, Camille. I can see you're working hard and well. Matthew's also working hard. He's played bishop h6. Oh, there's been a few moves on Matthew's board. Okay, so he played bishop h6. His opponent played rook e8. He played queen d2, but it looks like there's just a slight delay. So I'm just move it back here. On his board. So we can see Matthew played the moves that I would have played here for white. I didn't get around to saying what I would do, but I would go queen d2. I'm hoping to play h4, h5, and I was hoping that with my queen on d2, let's say black plays a5 or something, I was hoping I could play h4 and bishop h4 might fail. I was hoping. I hadn't yet figured it out. All right, let's have a look here. Would this trap the black queen? That's the first thing we need to confirm. We're sort of warming up here, right, folks? Normally in a tournament, it's very important to warm up before your clock starts. Hey, Giao, welcome in. Normally in a tournament, you would want to sort of wake up your brain before the rounds. Like right now, I'm looking at this position. I'm asking you guys to confirm for me if the black queen is trapped, right? If I were really warmed up, I would probably know if the black queen was trapped, right? Don't you think my level? Probably, right? I wouldn't have to ask chat. An IM would know. You could just like look at the squares, one by one and ask yourself if the queen can get away. I would just know that, right? So normally what I would do in a tournament, I would arrive at my board 15 minutes before the round starts and I would just start calculating stuff. Then when the game starts, I would already know this. But I've been basically focused on setting up this fancy OBS setup here, right? Well, it's not that fancy, but it's like slightly nice. We put in a couple extra videos and stuff. So let's see if I could get rid of this red bar on Kostya's video. No. Oh, well. So I'm just switching my attention to chess, right? And it's taking a moment to get into gear. Yeah. Pat, you also know this thing about not being too confident until you're really warmed up and into it. So that would be my idea for Matthew, is to play bishop h6, queen d2 like he did, and then run h4, h5, right? And the key to it is that black not be able to just capture your pawn on h4. You don't want them to be able to accept that pawn sack. So we come here. I think we've established that black can't take it. So black would play something like b4 maybe, right? And then you play h5. You can also, in this position, consider a move like knight g5, looking to crash through with a sacrifice. But, if you could trade a pawn effectively for one of those pawns, why not start with a pawn, right? So you do this, and black's going to do something like rook b8. It's hard for black to do a whole lot, by the way. Like, they can play pawn takes at some point. Maybe put the rook on b2 is the plan. So now for Matt, I go trade, knight g5. Maybe queen f4 first. Who knows? Knight g5. Takes. Now we could take, or we could start trying to threaten checkmate. Right? They do this to take the threat off of f7. Come here. You could take back now, or you could start calculating, right? Queen h4. Pawn takes b2. Checkmate! Something like this, right? That's like the general plan for white. And of course, you reach a point where you have to calculate. But first, you have to have a plan for like what you would do if black does nothing, right? And that plan is h4, h5. That's the first part, right? And then once they play a move like rook b8, you decide like how fast. Well, definitely you trade. And then you decide, are my threats fast enough to ignore that pawn on c3, or should I first play a move like rook b1? Right? Now black could go takes. It doesn't actually hurt white that much, right? So now black might try something like, I don't know, black's really low on stuff to do. Maybe bishop a6, so the queen's defending the rook, so they can contest the b file. And then we continue with our plan, queen f4, and they take. Now again, you could calculate if knight g5 wins, but if it doesn't, you keep defending over here for the moment, right? And they do whatever, and eventually you come in and they try to defend, and you just throw everything you have at at the king side. Maybe I'm threatening bishop g7 now. You just start calculating different like winning themes here. You can look if a move like knight h5 can get through, etc., etc. Maybe sometimes knight e4, so they take it once and then the next knight comes. So king h2, rook h1 sometimes. So different things to calculate. That's the next phase, but you don't need to worry about that phase right now. Right here in this phase here, Matt just needed to figure out, what's a way to make any progress. And what he came up with is, with the queen on d2, he'll be able to run the h-pawn forward. Now his opponent, I thought this might happen, worried about the bishop on h6, played bishop f8. You accept that as white, right? Your opponent's going to try different defensive moves, f6 or bishop f8 or something. You'll react to those moves. That's why you don't need to figure out h4, h5 like 10 moves ahead, calculating every detail, right? You just start making moves in the right direction and then deal with what they bring your way. So like bishop f8, you're fine to trade dark square bishops, right? That's going to weaken their king too. It's going to give your knight g5. So in the game, black played bishop f8. Matt's been thinking for a long time. I think ultimately h4, h5 might still be the plan, just leaving the bishops here. But he also has an idea of playing bishop f8, queen h6 himself, bringing the queen there faster. The idea of this setup would be that I'm going to ignore white for a second for black and just show you white's idea. You go here, black goes here, and the plan is to play knight h5. And you always need to have like some plan of what you're doing if they do nothing, and then you also need to be able to calculate and react to what they do. So we threaten checkmate, and we threaten knight f6, and if they take, we have bishop h7, also with checkmate here, right? So that's what I'm thinking there for Matthew, right? So just start walking the h-pawn up. But yeah, actually bishop f8 trading, this is a very strong threat because it's hard for black to oppose this area. They could play f6, I guess, if knight h5 is killer. Yeah. And then takes. You could go knight h5 already, huh? Queen goes here. But then we can't leave the knight there forever. So I guess better is we just bring a rook. And black can try and bail out with the queen trade. You can play queen f4 and keep queens on the board. You can also trade queens and you enjoy a great endgame, right? Bad pawn, missing dark square bishop, bad bishop. White's very good. Hey, drummer. You've got multiple accounts on Twitch, huh? Got a question from Skivix about Kostya's game, so we'll get to that too. Right now. Some people might be unhappy to play this endgame as white, but let me just tell you, this endgame here is a thing of beauty for white. Very, very bad position for black. Very, very painful. How good would it be to keep queens on the board? I'm so happy to play endgames now. Is this move good? Looks also very beautiful right here. h4, h5 would be really pleasant. h4, h5 is so good. I think maybe we shouldn't rush bishop takes f8. I mean, this line was good, and I think Matthew just went for it, judging from his video. But maybe I'd just prioritize rushing the h-pawn up the board, you know? Future business venture, Charlie the drummer. All right. Are you thinking of streaming some drumming material on Twitch? What would have been the point of knight h5? The point of knight h5 is to threaten these checkmates on g7 and break through with the threats of knight f6 or queen g7 mate, if I remember the position correctly. Matt's game hasn't had an update in a while. I'm going to refresh it to see if they're holding out on me on the no, hasn't. All right. Let's click here. No moves. Hard to know if that's real. Yeah, not clear if Anushka got a game or not. Rachel, after D4, is blowing her clock, unfortunately. And then over here, Kostya, someone's asking me about Bishop D6 for him somewhere soon. Adult self-paced module course. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. I'd probably sign up for that, Charlie. I don't know if you've got any customers yet. But I'd probably sign up. Let's see on Anushka's account, on Anushka's Twitch, if anyone there knows what's going on with her game or position. It shows Rachel's game, but it doesn't show Anushka's. Wait, it says, Anushka, can I call you? Lula, can I call you? Okay, I can't tell what's happening with Anushka's game. It seems like one way or another she didn't really get a game today. That's what it seems like. Okay, Kostya's game. Castles, castles. And I guess here somebody's asking about playing Bishop D6. Right? Which I think I addressed in a previous position. Yeah, so Skibix, basically, if Kostya plays Bishop D6, Black's plan is to answer with Knight E4, hitting the bishop and defending the pawn. And then if you want to hold this square as Kostya, you're going to have to just sit there with your queen on that square, which is not really going to successfully... I'll even play a useful move for Kostya, right? You're not going to successfully hold this square with the queen in general between, you know, queen b6. She's prepared knight f5. So I don't think bishop d6 is super powerful. Excuse me. Now you want to play b4, rook b1, b4. That makes sense, Charlie. I can be your first advanced sign-up. How's that? You know when there's like a really popular book or something, sometimes people will pre-order it. Maybe I've got that wrong, but I think so. You can pre-order something. I'm going to pre-order your module. So you know you've got at least one customer. Okay, so could maybe Kostya just play b4 right now, even without rook b1 or anything else? Maybe. Let's have a look. Oh, he's played a move. He's showing us what he wants to do. Queen c2. So now we're a little bit ahead of where they are in the game. Looking at Matthew's board. Looks like after he traded on f8, he went into a think. I shouldn't mess with drums having kids. Why not, Skibix? Okay, we're going to put some info about the tournament up here. Where should we put the tournament info? Over here? Does that work? If I don't mind never sleeping. I do mind never sleeping. I already struggle to sleep. What SD stands for? Sudden death? Oh, I guess I could just use a G for game. We'll just say game 30. Does that work? 40-90, game in 30, 30-second increment throughout. Upright seems fine. Matthew must be gobbling too much time here. Hey Alice, how are you doing today? So Queen C2 from Kostya. He's up on time. Let's see if this shows Matthew's clock. No, it just doesn't have the clocks right. Matthew's game is just not relaying, I think, unfortunately. So I will just have to put the moves in. So we've had these moves played, and here Matthew's thinking. He's got H4, Rook E1, and Queen H6 as candidate moves. And my guess is that he's quite a bit behind on the clock, because his kid opponent seems to just, wander around the playing hall waiting for him to play. I'm stuffed up. My throat is just barely keeping my voice here. But we've been excited for this tournament for 5 or 6 weeks that all these Dojo'ers have been training for it. So I'm glad I have just enough voice to do this broadcast at least. Levon, I don't think of him as being much of a French player, Skibix. Even though it's the national opening of Armenia, Levon was always kind of an exception. Didn't play that much French during the main phase of his top 10 career. From like 2010 to 2024. I didn't see much French from him myself. Should I click over here for a second and see how my dear Gukesh is doing? Down 2 pawns on the board at the moment. Wow. Heck of a mess here between Duda and Gukesh. In the opening, it felt like Gukesh had a great position at this point to me. I thought he was really hurting his opponent here. But what you see is he just drops that B6 pawn. And the follow-up is this sad move. So it doesn't look like he has any particular threats or initiative to show for the pawn sack. And I'm going to assume that unfortunately he's got a terrible position. But, it's a huge mess. They've got 20 moves to make in this time control, and he's got a mess, and he's a great calculator. So definitely lots of practical chances. All right, knight e4, covering the dark squares. But Kostya was ready for this. He never dropped his bishop in, right? He's got his queen here. He's maybe looking to play bishop d3 next. Yeah, Alice, Matthew not only trains in the dojo, he works for the dojo now as well. He's our marketing manager. I don't know if manager is the right word. We've got one marketing person. He's our marketer. Is the Italian played at all American Nationals Classic tournaments? Yes, Igan. Again and again and again and again. Our marketing man. Matthew plays the French as black. So he should recognize that if he were in black's seat here, his position would be terrible. He wouldn't know what to do as black. So he should just feel comfortable to play some quick moves. When your position's easy like this, you should play easy moves and save your time for when you need to calculate later. Rook e1, h4, queen h6, they're all easy moves. Also queen f4 if you just want to prevent f6. Easy move. You know? So plenty of easy good moves here, Matt. But you can't sit there for 20 minutes and not make a move when you're not even calculating. This is round 1 indeed, Alice. It's the exciting round 1. And 1800 strength, welcome. Good to see you. The pawn structure is great for white, obviously. Black should play f6, probably Skibix, because if they don't, they'll get mated. But when they play f6, their position will be just as bad, positionally speaking. Because white will just control e5. Double rooks on the e file. It's just glorious for Matthew. Except that he's burned 20 minutes on his clock on this move, probably 10 minutes on bishop h6. So he's probably almost out of time at this point. The clock is incorrect here, showing an hour and 12 against 48. And he's finally moved. He's played a beautiful move here. He's played h4. But he could have played this move in 2 or 3 minutes instead of 20 or 30. I would guess that right now, Matthew has probably 40-ish minutes left at move 15, which is just abysmal, if I'm right about the timing. Which cohort is he in? He's in the 16 to 1700 cohort, I think, although his FIDE rating is over 1700 now. Oh, but that's because FIDE ratings got inflated and we're using FIDE ratings from like 2022 or whatever. So, yeah, he's in the 16 to 1700 cohort. Moving the rooks would be recommended as well in this position. Charlie, either rook could go to e1 at this point. Because basically we know that black's eventually going to get checkmated if they don't play f6. f6 allows the black pieces to defend the king along the second rank. Without f6, black will eventually be checkmated by queen h6, knight g5, and then either knight h5 or pawn h5. And there will be no defense, for sure. There's just no room for black to defend this area without f6. So knowing that black's going to play f6, you could play rook e1 and know 100% that your rook will be correctly placed after they play f6. The other thing he could have considered here would have been queen f4, preventing f6 for the moment. That was the one other option here. I think black plays knight d7 and forces f6 anyway. But maybe, like if this were a GM versus GM game, you would calculate queen f4, knight d7, knight h5. There's some chance that that kind of combination would get black, but I think it doesn't. Here you'd have to play f5. The point is like knight f8, knight g5, and black still has no defense to h7. So I think they'd have to try f5. Pawn takes, knight g5, and then again you see the theme that you can defend on the second rank once you have it. And it doesn't seem to quite work for white. So probably the best thing you can do is either rook e1 or h4 here. And part of the point of h4 is that if black plays f6, you take, queen takes, and play h5. Right? And you just chip away at this pawn structure really quickly so the king's exposed. This allows black to, maybe break with e5, trying to get the bishop out. But, here it's at the cost of heavy material. Queen h6 is not so useful here, Guriao. I tried it first. It's not a bad move. It was my first candidate move. But queen h6, knowing the black needs to play f6, you'll take, queen takes, and they're just going to play queen g7 quickly. And I don't really want to trade queens for white. The endgame's great, but I don't... The middle game's even better, I think. It's just more certain to win. In the endgame, it's very comfortable. Your opponent has no chances, but there is like a chance that they just defend e6 forever and hold the game and draw. So I don't see any help in playing queen h6 to force f6 when they need to play f6 anyway. Better to play, like if in this position here, you knew that your opponent was playing f6, ef6, queen f6 next, what moves would you play in that position? Probably rook e1, rook e3, rook fe1, something like that, right? Yeah. So we see Matt's opponent at the board and thinking for a moment. And let's get further into Kostya's game. Knight e4, knight d2. Trade off the knight. Now, a German player rated between 21 and 2200 FIDE told me this like very general strategic tip that I think is very much useful and generally true, etc., which is that when you've got the bishop pair, you're happy to trade a knight. When you're playing against the bishop pair, you want to trade a bishop. Okay, I've sort of known that always, that you want to break up your opponent's bishop pair, but I had not really thought so much about the fact that trading one knight helps the bishop pair. But I think, of course, with exceptions, but I think it does. Okay, with exceptions. It's not a 100% thing. But it does help the side with the bishop pair to make this knight trade. It just clears up a little bit of the clutter often and lets the bishops move more freely without the knights covering their squares, and you can play against the remaining knight more easily than against the two knights. Of course, it depends. If you've got a huge space advantage or something, then you wouldn't go out of your way to trade pieces often. There'd be other reasons. Maybe their knights are really badly placed. You're not going to hunt down a knight on b8 and bring your knight, all the way to c6 just to trade it if it's a cramped piece. But as a general rule, if all things are equal, you'll often trade a nicely placed knight for your opponent with your last knight and leave yourself a pure bishop pair. Now, bishop d3 was kind of the obvious move, right, Skibix? And the question is, what did black intend and why did Kostya not do this? And one thought is that black intends to play f5, right? What else could it be? Could it be d5? Bishop takes, pawn takes. This feels potentially very advantageous for white. Tempo with the rook while the queen's awkward. Go there. I'm getting very hopeful here that maybe I could even get into d7. But maybe it's more reasonable. I mean, I'm going to get very fancy if I play bishop d6. Knight g5. Queen c6. We've got rook d6 winning the pawn. So knight g5. Let's play f5. Rook d6. Rook here. I didn't quite break black down here. Maybe I could try this. And here, if they go after the bishop, it'll drop back here. The knight really wants to come to f4. But black might be able to fight their way out, like hold the space they've got. I mean, all these positions are pleasant for white, but I haven't found anything that just on its own looks obviously crushing. I don't really believe in d5 for black, though. So is the bishop pair overrated? Depends who's rating it, Ibrahim. I mean, it's definitely better than not the bishop pair. So there could be f5 as well. Okay, let's have a look at f5. Now is white you'd really expect to play the move knight d2 that Kostya played one move before this, right? Oh my gosh. Matthew's opponent played h5. At first blush, that should be épouvantable, like extremely, extremely bad. Like the game might have just gone from good to winning for Matt right there. Honestly, I think he was already winning, just maybe more easy to win. We'll look at that in a second, though. So do you see what I mean? That at this position here, after f5, it's hard to see a better suggestion for white than trying to trade this knight with your knight. Otherwise, things are all cluttered, right? Everything's cluttered. Black's got a lot of space. You know, they can play moves like g5. Your bishop doesn't have so many squares. But now if you go knight d2, maybe black already plays g5, right? Ignoring you for a moment. And taking here, this is liable to lose a piece. So, from that sense, it really helps us backtrack and understand why Kostya played knight d2 first, doesn't it? Here, g5 is terrible for black the other way. White takes here, and now white's winning material because look at this horror. So likely she's already moved. So let's see what she did. She played f5 against knight d2. Okay. So now I think Kostya maybe just trades on e4 immediately here. Is he thinking? Has he made a move? No, he's thinking. I think his opponent is a very promising player. Just from the way she sits at the board and works. Just seeing how she looks at the board, how much effort she's putting in and working, the mix of intensity and calm. I think she's got a lot of potential. Yeah, Landon, we can pop over to Matt's board for a second. Let's go through Rachel's on our way, even though it's a dumpster fire. So after d4, yeah, I was afraid of this. Rachel is going to love bishops, so she doesn't want to give up the pawn and the bishop pair. So she's precious about her bishop. She retreats it. But honestly, you know, had she castled, it's not even clear that white would have taken the bishop. White might not want their extra pawn to be this sort of useless doubled pawn. She might have gotten, you know, she might have, in fact, had white, after castling, seen white take the knight in order to have an extra passed e-pawn, right? That's, I mean, not passed, an extra e-pawn, right? This is much more impact than a pawn on c5. And then you go here, and at least you didn't spend a move on bishop a7, right? You've got the same position she has, but with castling instead of bishop a7. And, you know, at least the bishops threaten to rain down fire and brimstone. So she spends a tempo on bishop a7. White takes. Now her knight's hanging. She defends it. And now after queen g4, now she's the one paying tempi taxes. If she castles, there's bishop takes h6. She plays a nice raging move. Queen d7. She says, take the pawn. I'll castle queenside, put a rook on g8. At least get a little bit of threat in this game. Okay, sleep well, Gudiao. Queen takes g7 seems a little imprudent for white. Queen d7, king d7, rook d1 is, however, something that black should be very sure that they've calculated correctly. I guess there's king e6. Pawn e6 here, there's queen e6, and you can't play rook e1 because it's not defended. Right, no rook e1, so that'd be back rank mate. So I have this instinct to try and throw moves like e6 at black here, but it's not right. Here it doesn't work. Most of them, Alice, yeah. Not every single one. Tomorrow's round I won't cover. I think Kostya found someone else to cover it. Because tomorrow I'll be with my kids at this time. Sunday we will cover the round while doing a Dojo Rapid tournament. And then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I think I'm covering a lot of rounds. Pretty much all next week, Monday through Friday. The last round being next Friday. I believe? Or maybe the final round is next Saturday and I won't be covering it again because of Saturday. We got a move from Kostya. And did he trade the knight like I thought he would / should? I think so. Let's click on his board and see how in sync or out of sync it is. Wow, it's completely in sync. He traded the knight. I got that one right. I'm an IM today. Okay, so things going very badly for poor Rachel here after queen d7. White can play just a pawn up ending here. But she just has to keep putting up defense. Now, in Matthew's game, did they ever add moves to the game? They did. Bishop f8. Takes. H4. H5. And why is this move so bad? Well, because you're supposed to play f6 at some point to defend the king, right? And when you play f6, then your g-pawn's basically going to be hanging. So now queen h6 looks very good for Matthew. Has he played a move yet? Or is he going to be slow again? Yeah, he's going to keep being slow. I mean, h5 was played like 10 minutes ago or something, right? Yeah, good day to you, Alice. So I guess the only question is, can White already win with knight h5? But I think not. Oh, here's another thing about that pawn on h5. If Matt plays queen h6 and you play f6, well, first of all, bishop takes g6 wins. So let's say black plays f5, trying to block out this piece. You can take, and play knight h5, right? We looked at this move before with the pawn on h7 and said, well, it's not decisive, black backs the queen up. But now this is winning a pawn as well, right? So it's really hopeless. So I think for Matt, just sink the queen into h6, and there's not too much more to say about this game. I mean, there's a few details, but it's really crushing because you're just preparing knight g5 and knight h5, and black seems to be locked out of any defensive moves here. Let's just try some defensive moves. Let's say we bring the knight. Matt goes here. We bring the knight. It hits the queen. Ooh, playdate for the doggy, yes. Okay, let's go, Papa. Your brother wants to play. Her brother lives next door. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go get it. Oh, yeah. Beautiful. Let's increase the natural light a little bit more here. That's nice. That is very nice. See, Matthew's still working. Working. He's able to work without putting his hands on his head or anything. He's just, boom. Great posture. Amazing. He seems very tall, like the board's very far away from his head. Sometimes I have to get down closer to my pieces, unfortunately, to see them. Okay, this is definitely some kind of defense, this knight h5 move. And if we take here, they take here, and we don't quite win. Uh-oh. Well, that's classical chess for you. You really have to work. Okay, knight e7. Just coming to f5. Huh. No, I've been too glib about this. What to do? No, we can't take on h5 just yet. Okay, so that's the only resource that I see for black. Knight e7, knight f5. What do we want to do when black plays that? Hey, Anushka. You didn't get a game, did you? I was trying to figure out what happened to you, but I couldn't fully watch Lula's stream. I couldn't turn the sound on it while I was streaming at the same time. I couldn't figure it out. I'm sorry you went all the way there and missed a game. Yeah. So excited to play chess. I know. But you'll get to. They can't all run and hide. Somebody's going to show up. Somebody's going to show up to fight. You could play solitaire chess on either Rachel or Matt's board. If you need to get in the rhythm. Play round one. Just kind of write down for yourself every move you would play for one of their positions, whichever one you prefer. Rachel's playing down a pawn out of a totally scuffed opening. Matt's got a dream white side of the French. So you could pick one of these games to kind of guess the move the whole game. Oh, look at that endgame sensei training from Matthew. Look at that move. Queen g5. Oh, man. He's just telling that kid, you might dream of escaping checkmate with a queen trade. I'd give you a queen trade. Oh, no. Welcome to endgame sensei. I think, Matthew, that line doesn't work for white that you're suggesting there. It's like queen h6, knight e7, knight g. Oh, you're sacking already. Takes, here, and you said it's too fast for knight f5. Why is it too fast for knight f5? What is white doing here? You certainly have a game. Your position's so good, you can sack a piece for 2 pawns like this, take a pawn here maybe, and just keep playing. But, oh, maybe we could win with g4 next. Oh, is that what you were thinking, Matthew? Oh, man, I didn't see that before, but that might work. Let's double check. We're threatening queen f7, so black has to pay one tempo there. So they have to play a move such as queen e7. Then you play g4. Knight g7. Check. Here. Now we're kind of wishing we defended f7 with our rook, not our queen, right? But okay, this is winning for white at least. Let's go back and play rook e7. So let's go rook e7 here. g4. Knight g7. Oh my god, I'm going to play fancy. I'm going to play fancy, Matthew. Check. Oh no, but then the knight can take on h7. All right, a million times too fancy. Hang on. Let's get our wits about us. All right, what if we played a very simple approach? We check. They go in the corner, and then we go here. I mean, hard to imagine we wouldn't eventually win. I will get to do my fancy thing. I'm gonna allow it myself. I'm kind of cheating here. Boom! Bishop f7. What? Yeah! Oh my god! If black developed the bishop, it would have prevented this. So I let myself do it. But I just really wanted to do it. Okay. All right. Without black being accommodating, I do think this position looks winning for white, honestly. The two pawns against these knights that are struggling to move. The king that's trapped here. Black can't make any further moves. f6 is never playable. Like, they just can't do anything. They're basically playing moves like, you know, rook b8, bishop d7, b4. I guess they have to start with bishop d7 to defend the queen. Maybe f4, f5 should be a plan for white. And f6 and so forth. f4, b8, f5. No matter how many pieces they have, they could never take here. Even if black had this defended like 6 times, because this move would always be check. You know? So you just bring a pawn to f6 gradually here. I guess if the rook had already been on b6, it might have prevented this move. But now it's too late. Alright, what am I going to do? I'm going to play bishop d7. f4, rook b8, f5, rook b6 is too late. Yeah. Okay. So this is perhaps good. This piece sack. That's very instructive, right? That this piece sack could already be good here. This move order, so we threaten bishop h7. They block us. And now we can trade here. Yeah. But we don't trade our bishop for this knight, which previously gave black like the e6 square and the whole third rank to bring defenders. And now just f7's attacked, so they have to play one of these moves to the second rank. If they do the queen, they're going to end up losing their queen. So I think they have to do the rook. Kick that knight to a bad square. Whoops, sorry. Trap the king. And yeah, it's just a crushing position. So that was maybe possible. But what Matt's done in the game is he's played queen g5 here. And his opponent has, whoa, a bunch of things just happened, and now the king's on h6. How did it happen? It looks like he's got a knight on f6. Okay, so we have to figure out, after queen g5, how did Matt get a knight to f6? And where does the opponent's h-pawn go? Matt's pawn is still on h4. The knight's on f8, so maybe the opponent played knight h7 here somewhere? Oh, and his king came up a whole bunch. Ah. Wait, I could go back through the video and find the moves for Matt. If I go back to when they're making moves, knight h5. Man, they played so slowly, and then they really had a flurry of moves. Why was the knight on h7? Oh, this is what happens. Okay. Matt's opponent traded queens and then tried to chase his knight out with knight h7. So Matt traded the knight, which the kid hadn't paid attention to the fact that it would allow him to grab this pawn. In theory, that's an idea, Akil. There's never been a moment in this game where white was playing g4, because white always had the knight on g3, and any knight maneuver from g3 was too time-consuming when the knight's potential was really valuable to just trade on h5. So there's not been any point in this game where g4 was a main idea. Okay, from here, his opponent played king h6, and Matt brought the knight to f6. So now he's firmly up a pawn and in control of his position here. So, yeah. Good work from Matt. His queen g5 worked out. But knight h7 seems like it was a real mistake from the kid, who, of course, would have been miserable just leaving the knight on f8 forever. But, yeah, as usually happens in these games, people destruct themselves, if you know what I mean. If this is the order Skibix asked, wouldn't it have been better to just play knight h5 immediately with this hanging? And then on knight takes, you can play check and take the rook. Yeah, that would be even better, Skibix, if I got the order right, which maybe I got it wrong. I'm checking it. Nope, we can see the kid played knight h7 in that position in Skibix. So you're right. Matt took on h7 instantly. Wow. He had like a whole sequence planned or something? He expected knight h7? That's so weird. He thought for gobs of time on random moves. And then his opponent played knight h7 and he played instantly? Which only really makes sense if he was down to like 10 or 20 minutes, that he might have been feeling the heat to just start blitzing out moves. But I think Skibix is absolutely right that knight h5 would have been a strong move here for Matt. And then here you can give check here. And you could take the knight with a good position, but you can actually take the whole exchange. There's no reason not to here. If they save their knight, it has no threats, and you can still go knight d6 or knight f6 with a good knight and an extra exchange. Or they trade and you take back, and you've got a file with which to use your extra exchange to win the endgame. So, yeah, I mean, if he used more of his time on this move here, instead of on those other moves, then he could find a much more killer move here, like Skibix. But this is the game, and Matt played g4 here, advancing his pawn majority, boxing in that king. Yeah, knight f3 check doesn't really hurt. I guess it helps a little bit if black's going to take on f8 with the king. Or sorry, on e8 with the king. Knight f3 helps a little bit, because then there's no open file at the moment. it's more than just the doubled pawns. It's no open file for white's rooks. Still, it's eventually winning. So, yeah. All right, let's check over on the other boards for a moment. So, Rachel castled opposite sides. Obviously, her king's position is bad if Hannah plays moves like a4 and c4. But at least there's some complication to the situation. Hannah plays a4 very quickly and easily. And now AB would leave this bishop hanging. So it's like hurting black and coming with tempo. Could see Rachel considering b4 here to keep this rook from developing, at least for a moment. Seems slightly desirable. The other option would be to sort of try and totally ignore white like this. This is very desperate measures, threatening knight e2. Bishop takes, pawn takes. Queen takes, rook g8, g3, queen h3. Huh. Did my desperate measures just kind of pan out there? In at least one variation? I mean, two bishops pointing like that, it's a lot of juice, right? It's a lot of juice. Right here, temporarily, white's development is kind of Ruy Lopez-y, right? And the Ruy Lopez, white doesn't develop well. So g5. I suppose white could avoid knight f4 like this. Yeah. Queen g3 was a lost tempo, wasn't it, Skibix? You're right. That's a good point. Queen g4 from white. Rachel plays a developing move, and white retreats their queen. So they've now played two moves with the queen, and it's not better here than it was on d1, by the way. It's not even improved. And she castles. This is part of the Rachel comeback. If we try to understand... if we try to understand why did it go from being just Rachel could resign to being a bit complicated, it's actually this sequence from white of queen g4 to g3. If you're going to play queen g4, then you have to take something here. But if you back off, that means that Rachel just played queen d7 and castles queenside for free. 2 full moves while you did nothing. So it makes sense that the position could be a little bit more complicated now. Now, I think that my g5 idea is refuted by bishop d5, unfortunately. Unfortunately and bizarrely, right? Because that lets the bishop pair reign, but after ab5, we don't have the juice to crush white, even though all their pieces are stupid. I mean, you could maybe just, keep going, let white take everything. But now you're really, banking so much on one thing. And honestly, even when the pawn gets to h4, white has to move queen f3. It's not like you have certain checkmate. Or do you? Rook e1, rook g8. What the heck? I assumed that this wouldn't work for black when I saw the queen f3 as an escape valve, but let's see. c4. Oh, this way's good. Do I want to give up my bishop for that rook, though? Probably not. Just bring out the rook, right? That didn't quite work out. Okay, maybe I need to take on f2. And then here. And now black's pieces are flowing pretty freely. This looks very playable. Yeah, I could totally believe this working out. Huh. Okay, maybe I could give all this up and just run the H-pawn too. Oh, there's check as well. Good lord, David. If G3, there's mate. I'm just saying if white wants to give me this bishop, they have to give it to me with tempo on the G file, right? I'm not even playing rook D8. Just going for mate. My goal for Rachel was for her to just... One of my 2 goals for Rachel in this tournament was for her to notice. She doesn't have to play G5. She's supposed to try and notice 1 or 2 moments per game where she can do something like this and press just the absolute madness button. I just want her to see when it's an option. That's one of her 2 main goals for this tournament as offered by me. Now, she might have picked different goals at the last moment because I didn't hear her final goals. But this is my goal for her just to see that this is the moment when this is an option. Right, pawn takes, there's knight here. This bishop takes, pawn takes, this thing worked out very quickly when I opened this file. That was the end. Queen h3, try and stave off checkmate by trading queens. It just accelerates checkmate when you open the G file. Got a move for 2 in Matt's game, G4. Black maneuvered the knight around to trade his knight. He advanced his king. They're probably not going to be relaying it, so let me see if I can add the moves. Okay, so I think he played king G2. Knight G8. And I think he may have taken it, but he doesn't need a pawn on F6 would be awesome for white. Here he could definitely just play a move like F4. Let black stew in it. But I think the game goes takes, F4. I think that's the position he has. And there's nothing wrong with what he's doing either, by the way, folks. Even if I suggest, oh, what about this move? What about that move? This position is like perfectly great. You know, he could just use an F5 break at some point or rook H1, H5. So perfectly good game. Yes. Can I read his clock if I look close enough? Does it maybe say he still has 30 minutes? Okay, back to our complicated position. Matt's just played rook h1 here. Nice move. Oh, am I missing something? F4. What did black do? Bishop d7. Sorry, yeah, bishop d7. Rook h1. Yeah. Okay, let's look at our crazy board. See if Rachel notices the button. Skibix just had a question for me about queen takes b5, right? So when I go g5, bishop d5, queen d5, a b5, could I just go queen b5? I suppose so, Skibix. It's true that then I'm still only down 1 pawn, and maybe the game just keeps going. Maybe I don't have to commit everything. You know, maybe I could even go rook e8 and play queen takes e5 and try to play an endgame, right? You don't think black's worse. That's reasonable. I mean, white's not doing anything killer right here. It'd be nice. If I were threatening queen f1, I would play this move for you, Skibix. If I could, you know, if I could win like this, then you would see me playing queen b5. But honestly, I didn't see a refutation for h5. I know it's absolute chaos. I know I'm hanging everything. ba6. I just spent a move saving my bishop now, unfortunately, forced. Bishop g5, h4. I felt like I was killing. White's got other moves here, like, you know, c4 to distract me or something. Now that my bishop has access to this, I might have queen f1 at some point. There's also a simpler move, just rook g8 here. Queen h4, you can trade it and give checkmate. Yeah, pawn doesn't mean you're absolutely right, Skibix, to be like, we don't need to burn all the bridges. We're down one pawn. We've got a complicated game with counterplay. Just because I'm down one pawn doesn't mean I have to give 3, which is what I'm doing. But it is important. Rachel played h5. It is important that Rachel be aware that she's got the chaos button available. So here she's saying she wants to do something like here, here. Not clear where this piece goes, right? And then maybe f6. Queen d3 maybe instead looks healthier. And then maybe Rachel's thinking of maybe like h3, pawn takes a6. I mean, I think she's thinking of some stuff like this. She's willing to go down some material here, right? Queen g4. Let me try queen g4 for a moment. Queen g4, pawn takes, check, here, check, here. It's criminal that this doesn't work. Oh, if my bishop were on a8, I could do rook d3, bishop g3, rook check, pawn takes, bishop takes, rook h1. If white didn't have pawn takes, bishop check in the middle. Honestly, if the black king were on b8, that whole variation would work. I hate losing a tempo like that. Bishop c6. I was a little bit worried about h3 if I spent a tempo. But h3, I'll just trade queens. Just like this. I'll just do a simple queen trade and just play this position. White's got a lot of pawns, we think, but honestly it's only 2. And this king, there's a lot of chances to attack him in this endgame still. You know? Like, we're threatening knight f2. We're threatening knight e5. And all white's pieces are dumb. So they're playing something like this to queen the pawn would make sense. So one option for black is a draw here. Knight e5, bishop a7, knight f3 check. And then just a repetition with the knight. Oh, I guess white can play f3. But then we'd be getting the rook or the bishop or something. It's plenty. Yeah, maybe even black doesn't take the repetition. Okay, I think Rachel sees. I think she achieved her goal. I think she saw that she's got the button here. She played h4. Right. So she saw that she had the chaos button here. So score 1 for Rachel. Is Matt crushing the kid's soul? He's just up a pawn in the end game. Let's check on Kostya Kost. He's our leader, after all. Come on, Kostya. Show us what we're doing. Knight e4. Fe4. Rook d1. Beautiful. Just to the d file. Hello. Looks at a7 and d7 at once. And looks like he's just going to grab that a7 pawn here. On screen, I can see him judging the tastiness of the pawn. Let's look a move before this. So rook here, queen a4 attacking too. Ugh. What's black supposed to do here? If black plays d5, Kostya's just going to trade. You take back however you like here. You know, pawn, knight, whatever. Doesn't matter. He's going to win a pawn right here. If you take with the knight, now your structure is trash and you're not even threatening this probably because of this. Right? He could take, probably. Knight f4. And that's queen versus rook and bishop. I don't really see it for black. But he's got options at every step of the way. You know, he could play bishop e5 if he didn't like that enough. He could recapture on f4 if he weren't sure about that. Again, up a pawn, very comfortable. You know, queen somewhere over here to defend this pawn. g3 for Kostya. Right? He's very powerfully placed in the center. He's up a pawn. The opponent's structure is worse. God, it got really critical for black after just this clean rook to d1 move. I wonder how he chose which rook to put on d1. Lots of people over at Maia, huh? Huh. I'm not sure I have an advice for Camille right there after rook d1 from Kostya. And he's gobbled the pawn on a7, and she looks just generally unhappy. You know, I'd vaguely thought that she was going to take with the bishop, not the pawn here. You know, a move before. One last we checked on this. G5 from Matt, looks good. He didn't want H5, G5. Just pop back over there for a second. 5 in this position, just preparing to keep doing this plan over here. I was mainly thinking that black would go rook H8, king G7, trade all the rooks, and I was wondering, can white break through the bishop and pawn ending with certainty or not? But his opponent played A5, And Matt's just played g5, so that indicates that he didn't want h5, g5. It's a strong pawn, but it's blockaded, and it's not obvious how to break through. You would have to next do something like this, trying to make progress based on f6 and f7 being weak. Maybe it's enough to win. I don't know for sure. Matt didn't know for sure either. What he chose was g5. So it's going to go king g7, and then he'll play h5 immediately. And this will leave a weak pawn on g6 for black if they don't trade on h5, which I don't think they will. We'll see h5, something like rook h8. I suppose black could still take and play rook h8 and stuff. All right, Matt's gone with h5. Suppose they could still take, go rook h8, trade a rook, bring another rook, trade all the rooks, and then then I suppose white wins by putting the king on g4 and playing f5. Yeah, there's not too much to it. Very clean so far. Very clean so far. Queen h3 played. Whoa. What did we had in our lines? We looked at h5, ab, h4, and we didn't look at queen h3. Somehow I didn't think that was working. But now I'm looking at it, it looks sort of normally playable. Oops. I think you have to trade on h3 yourself to weaken this king position more. And then do something like rook h6, something really fancy. But it feels like it's going to be hard to track the king down and maybe we need to play something like rook a6 for white. This is the main threat for black. Dang, if I'd had time to play bishop f7 as well, I'd have bishop e6 now winning for white. Let's try bishop f7 first instead of rook a6. But now this move doesn't work because they still have the bishop defending the rook. And we just get raged. Rook d2, rook takes. And our king's just dead. Rook h6. Matt got his rook to h7? Oh boy, oh boy. Oh boy, oh boy. Man, Matt's having like one of the most fun games you can possibly have in chess. You know, when you've got every advantage and your position's always pretty, you know? Oh man, oh man. I just update the moves over here for a second, friends. So after h5, I think his opponent played king f8, allowing trades and rook here. Whew. So then bishop e8 to defend the g-pawn. And rook b7 or other rook to h1. I think other rook to h1 first, but if rook here is rook h8 a move for black, maybe. I think he's just played a3. Just a little move. preventing b4, leaving these pawns as weaknesses to eventually attack from behind. If black ever plays b4, he just wins a pawn. If black ever plays rook b8, I think he goes maybe rook a7 is his thought. Although, honestly, sometimes black can play b4 then, right? And it's still counterplay. I'm not sure how much this helps Matt. I really think rook b7 would end counterplay if he could do it, but there's rook h8. Is there a world where you want to go rook b7, freezing everything, right? Rook here, and then rook h1, maybe? Maybe? Okay, something happened to Rachel's live position. We'll check. Queen h3. Queen e6. Queen g4, queen g4. Yeah, there's got to be an error somewhere in there, Ski Bags. That's not happening. I can't even guess from that what the plausible moves were. Black would have an edge if that actually happened, right? Yeah. Check back on Kostya for a second. So rook d1, bishop, queen a4, he grabs a pawn, exchange sack. Woo! Did you guys see that happen on the video? What did she look like when she played rook f4? Matt's game has just ended. Was it just a3 and then depression took over? Man, normally kids play on forever and never resign. In a classical, you'd rather be black there with the extra queen. Wow. Kids hate endings, huh? That thing depressed the heck out of that kid. Let's see if Matt offers him a post-mortem. Video is unavailable. Oh, they just stopped the live feed. Yeah, Chess explained. You're saying that your joke was about this position, right? Okay, Kostya captures on f4. This sack might be purely defensive in order to play d6 without losing the d6 pawn to that bishop on f4. Which, if true, is just absolutely brutal. If the whole point is just to keep your own weak pawn alive a little bit longer, but still weak. It's one of the saddest exchange sacks the world has seen. I'm just kind of guessing at the intention here. Yep. d6 played. Bishop g4 going after this. What? Rook takes d6? What? How's that possible? That would be the fanciest move. Rook takes d6 from Kostya? What? Played all calmly, too. What? What? And that's not a DGT thing, folks. That's just me looking at the video. I mean, rook d1, queen c7? What am I missing? Isn't she trapping the queen? You're saying he's got no way out here for his queen? Oh my god, what is going on? What happens when you watch like a million games at once? Dude is trying to queen a pawn here against our buddy who's trying to deliver checkmate with f2, knight e3, something or other, but it's not. I don't know if it's in the cards. Knight e3? Oh my god. So, rook takes d6 from Kostya. Okay, so you folks are saying rook a8's coming and there's no way, even with 2 steps, to get the queen out here in time. So this whole time when she sacked the a-pawn, she was like a super GM? I thought maybe bishop g4 here, you know, to trade the knight when it comes there and simplify. But she could even sack this pawn with check, huh? And there's no squares? Queen a6 doesn't get a new square? Wow, what is happening? And so when he goes rook takes d6 in the game, which now the DGT is showing d6, rook d6. It's funny, I saw that d6 would be the next move for black, but I didn't even realize it was to trap Kostya's queen. What does he even get here out of? Does he get anything? Because he's now down a piece. Maybe rook d1, queen c7, queen takes c5. We've got moves coming. Queen takes d6, rook d1, played very quickly. Does he do this and play 3 connected passers against a knight? Is that the insanity that we are witnessing today? Goodness. Camille and Kostya set the game on fire here. This was a positional game. This was like a positional game, and she lured him into this queen a4. I'm not sure when Kostya played queen a4 if he was planning to have his queen trapped. Although he came up with this rook d6 stuff pretty quickly. He definitely opts in with queen a4 right here, right? At this point, after she plays rook c8, Kostya could be playing whatever he wants. Bishop d6, rook d2. You know, he's got lots of choices at this point. So he played queen a4, thinking it's very good. Grabbed the pawn. She takes. Shocker. Trapping the queen with d6. That's insane. Queen a4 was a trap? She calculated that hard on just like one thing that Kostya could do when he has so much room to do so many things? Holy moly. is kind of terrifying. That is kind of terrifying. Kostya might still have a great position, despite what a genius she's being. He might still also have a good position, but wow. So the rook sacked to get out of it. She sacked in exchange. He sacks a rook, but he's collected enough pawns to, maybe have too many pawns for the knight at the end. That's kind of crazy. Okay. Matt might be joining us soon. I think his game ended with A3, as far as I can tell. After A3, his opponent just stopped there. So Matt's looking for a place where he can call in to join our stream. Is Rachel's game fixed? I don't know. We'll try refreshing it. No, Rachel's game's just busted looking at this queen takes g4 thing. So we'll leave it at the last position that made any sense, queen h3. And stick with Kostya's game for now. Maybe she'll play knight d5 here, you're thinking, huh? That would be an alternative option. Is this queen still trapped at the moment? Is that still like a threat? So Kostya has to go queen a5 or something to get out? Yeah, you got a policy on grabbing those pawns. And Matthew asked about queen takes f4 here. Queen takes f4. He's not going to play queen c5, right? He's going to play queen e7. I think that's part of this rook d1 thing. They did trade on h3. Okay, great. That makes sense. No move played here yet after rook d1. So if my board's clicking, did they fix this? No, it's probably Duda and Gukesh. Holy moly, what happened in this game? They still haven't made time control. They've just got seconds here, these guys. What on earth happened in this game? Knight e3, threatening f2 mate. Knight check. King f8, check. Knight check, because if the rook takes, then you can queen with check, I guess. So king moves. The rook comes all the way around. The knight trades here. King takes it, and you can't take the knight, but you can maybe get that a-pawn. He defends the a-pawn. Gukesh, 10 seconds. If rook b6, then there's rook d7. And then, I don't know what you do next, really. So he goes, the only move to try to win is like rook b4, trying to take these things from white. But I don't really think white can lose so much, because if you ever move your rook to take one of these pawns, rook b7 should be good. I guess then you go king h7, so that rook b8, you deflate rook b8. Knight b5. You get behind him again. Yeah, he just gets his king off of these back rank checks. Now rook c8, he just take. Oh, la la. Seconds each on that game. Kostya's game, I see the queen on c5. So it is the 3 passed pawns against a knight scenario over here. After rook d1, queen c7, queen c5. Kostya probably has a lead on the clock. He's a little bit of a fast player, but I don't believe the broadcast necessarily. But probably he's a bit ahead on the clock. It felt like he was ahead watching them play. This position is going to be very tricky to play. 3 pawns against the knight. Basically, the knight can't beat the pawns in the endgame. If you took queens off the board, white's just great. The knight also, even in the middle game, can't stop these pawns. It can't blockade 3 connected passed pawns. Black needs to attack Kostya's king. That's what black needs to do. That's the shot for black. So we're looking at, knight f5, queen f4, g5 if white plays g3. Like, black needs to go after the white king. Knight f5 to maybe play e3 and open up the bishop. She needs to play very, very precisely. Or not precisely. She needs to play, like, aggressively, energetically. Somewhat precisely, of course, too, because it's sharp. But, yeah, I mean, the key point is black needs to play very aggressively and ambitiously here. Rook to d8 gets played. And hi, Matt.
Hiya. How's it going?
All right. How are you?
I'm good. I didn't feel like, in general, I played that well. I was super just flustered going in. There's loads of tech stuff that was like annoying to sort out beforehand, so I wasn't right in mindset. But I mean, I was astonished that he resigned. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think it was that easy to actually win, even though, like, with the pawn and some of the pressure. But yeah, I mean, fine.
Give me 1 second, Matt. Give me 1 second to fix the sound on here.
Oh yeah, no worries.
I'm
attempting to find a save, but they haven't set it up, and they said tomorrow they'll be somewhere. But yeah.
My computer's not working very well. Sorry.
No worries.
Now it's the spinning colored ball. Oh God, it's all over.
Oh no. That is I maybe the call's too much for it.
Silliness. It won't let me go into my system settings.
I
can add this. So that's good. That's very weird. I can't change any system settings.
That's really annoying.
Huh. Oh, there we go.
Oh, awesome.
It's going to let me do it now, I think. Wow, that was like 20 minutes to respond. Okay, say something.
Hi.
Okay, that's
How's
good.
that?
Now there shouldn't be any echo or anything like that, and people should hear you fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, awesome. So, I mean, in general, I think it was fine. Like, he played c4, and I was like, great, I'm feeling good about this. And then I played knight g3, which probably wasn't right. I was actually just going to go, like, f4. But, yeah, knight g3, and then I had a bunch of plans, but g6 just... I knew g6 was annoying. But I played it anyway, so, yeah, not really sure what happened there.
I praised knight g3 in my broadcast.
Oh, yeah?
My impression was you don't know for sure if you want to play f4 or not.
Yeah. That's essentially why I got there in the end, because yeah.
So if you play knight f3, then you can't play f4. So if you play knight f3 where you played knight g3, maybe black plays f6, and then you wish you could play f4.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if you play f4, maybe they play g6, and you wish you could just move the pawn back and let your bishop out. So I praised knight g3. I thought it was genius.
Okay.
You seem to maybe be preparing queen or knight to h5. Your opponent plays g6, weakening the dark squares. That's a dream come true.
Yeah.
And now you decide you don't need your f-pawn. You play knight f3. I thought you're killing. Perfect. Perfection.
Okay, cool. All right. Yeah, like, well, because it was about the dark squares. That was the general gist, and then I saw
Mhm.
so many tactics with like Queen H6, Knight H5 ideas,
Yeah.
um, that I just wanted to work out, and then in the end, there was so many. Again, all of that was like sort of merging together, but then I didn't see a clear way through
Hmm.
for a lot of those, and then I decided that I didn't actually really feel like I needed to bring my queen in because I was gonna just yeah, I sort of delayed bringing my queen in. I'm trying to remember what my thought process was. I'm
Right.
also doing this all in my head, so it's gonna be super fuzzy.
Yeah, yeah. You
But
traded you
but
traded the bishops, and you could have followed with Queen H6 immediately if you really wanted to, but you
yeah,
played H4 first, um,
yeah,
and then your opponent played H5, which ended up being the pawn that dropped.
yeah.
So that was
Uh,
maybe more good news for you.
yeah, well, I saw that H5, like I saw that whole kind of tactic a little ways out.
Hmm.
Um, so I thought it was like a potential, and it's kind of annoying, and that's also why I went for the queen trade because there's all sorts going on. You can't really play F6 either after the knight. Like the knight's on a really nice square. I
Hmm.
spent ages thinking about whether I should go for the queen trade or just knight in straight away because it is a great square.
Mm.
Um, but I thought just positionally and also how he had played thus far, um, I also thought that I could just outplay him a little bit in terms of positional understanding of the position rather than
Hmm.
um, keep being more aggressive and keeping queens on the board. But I just didn't see an attack that works out.
Hmm.
Um,
How much time did you have on the
yeah,
clock at the end of the game?
like 30 something minutes, I think,
30?
maybe just under 30 minutes.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's fine. Okay, that's fine.
I spent a crazy amount of time on the queen trade.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I mean,
and a couple other moves.
the clock wasn't updating properly online, so I didn't know how
Right.
much time you have. And there were just like a few
Yeah.
times where my feeling from watching the video was that you'd spent a long time on some of your moves. So my only concern was that maybe you played too slowly on, pleasant moves that you could have played
Yeah.
quickly because you knew you were going to play them and your position was pleasant. Um,
Yeah.
but if you had 30 minutes left, that's fine. So I mean, I don't think you did anything wrong really this game.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I also realized I was way down on the clock, and then the queen trade became a bit more um, appealing just on that basis as well.
Mm,
So I was like, well,
right.
when the queens are off, I'm going to be a little bit faster. I think I have an understanding what's going on because also I was calculating all of these other tactical shots and lines
Right.
that didn't really work, but I felt like I had a grasp on like where the pieces should go, or like what to do if you pushed F6 or even F5. Because there's a lot of lines where I was like, oh, F5 is actually kind of a little bit annoying
Right.
versus F6.
Yeah, that's one of the nice
So
things about your opponent playing h5 is it makes any f pawn move even worse, right? So
yeah, yeah, yeah.
they've got very few ways to 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 move their pieces once they've played h5.
Really? Hi, David.
Hello.
Oh, let me put you on speaker.
Okay. Wait, are you on the stream? Is that why?
Yeah, kind of. Although,
Yep.
how can I not get this on? Okay, how do you get
Do you want to turn
Discord on speaker? Well, I'm using my data.
Oh, never mind.
Yeah. This is. Oh, hang on, there it is. Hello.
Hello.
I wanted to play.
I know. I know.
How did you do, Matt?
I won.
I thought your position was so good.
It was a good position, but I was in doubt for a while.
Okay.
Hmm.
But I mean, David has reassured me that my knight G3 move was okay, and I was like in the game. I was like, G6 is really annoying. I knew it was about the dark squares, but I didn't evaluate it that right.
Doubt is part of the human condition.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. A little bit of doubt is okay. You don't want to be assuming too much, but too much doubt is too much. It's similar to the confidence thing, right? The doubt and the confidence. So
yeah,
it's okay to have some doubt and not just assume that you're winning with any move. On the other hand, you shouldn't think too much of a negative narrative about this game because I mean you played a game where you were better from move 8 until the end without any interruption. You didn't blunder anything. You didn't give your opponent any chance at any point.
sure, cool.
Did you play up?
Play down. Yeah. Oh,
So
shoot.
next round, you'll still be probably playing up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, but when he resigned when there was so much play still on the board. Like, I saw some annoying resources-ish for him. I tried as much best as I could to contain that, and I thought Rook H7 was the way.
Oh yeah.
At the last moment, because the king can't do anything, if Bishop like trapped there, and then I can bring the other rook in. I wasn't sure because it's like I was thinking it's A5. Like if he pushes the A4, like or A5 B4 kind of stuff. I wasn't sure. I was trying to calculate like various things with that because I've got to be careful of this B2 pawn. I think it was fine in the end. But I sort of suddenly realized when he pushed those pawns that there were some things I needed to be careful of. I'm not sure if he saw them, but I would suddenly also. I don't know whether I see ghosts in these things or not, but yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, I was actually thinking on the move you played A3 that maybe Rook B7 might be a nice technical move, kind of making B4 impossible forever. And
yeah, but then there was something I didn't like about Rook B7. I did look at that, but I can't remember for the life of me what it was.
I mean, it gives your opponent the chance to play Rook H8 if they want, and then you play probably Rook H1, right? And just trade one rook, and your remaining rook's still on B7. You're probably still winning kind of normally. So that's an option. You probably have a few options.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, obviously this type of position isn't like a clear blow, and I thought it'd just be a long grind, but like I didn't see like a clear way. But obviously I'm much better. But oh no, Rook B7, and I was scared about Rook G7. Oh no, but you just take the pawn. No, you don't. You can't take the pawn.
I see.
Rook B7, Rook G7.
Right.
And then I wasn't really sure what my rook's doing, and then takes, and then king takes, and I was like, well, it's going to be hard for me to like infiltrate potentially with like Rook H1. That's more what I was worried about after Rook B7.
Yeah, very, very good point. Rook G7, if you take it, it's not obvious how you win. After Rook G7, the good move you have is Rook B6, keeping that active rook and attacking B5 and E6 with it. And Black plays a defensive move like Bishop back to D7 maybe. Then it won't be defending G6, so you bring the other rook to H6 with Rook H1.
Right.
So you're definitely like still tightening the noose there as long as you don't trade on G7.
Yeah. So that's cool. That makes sense. Rook B6. Yeah, I suppose Rook B6. I just didn't like it. Yeah.
Because it feels like you're getting your rook trapped.
Yeah, it's like kind of there on its own. It's not coordinated with my other rook, so I didn't like it.
Yeah. But okay, chat wants to know, what did you eat?
Oh, okay. Before the game, I just had some like dried mango snack. I had a pizza, like a late lunch that was just pizza, like a margarita pizza. So like today has been like pretty chill on food. We ate. I had amazing seafood risotto last night, and then we like snacked out this morning, went out for breakfast, and then that's kind of it. It hasn't been a high food day, to be honest. I'm actually starving now, but yeah, it's been super nice with everybody here. It's crazy how many people that I sort of know from online internet chess that are here. So it's been really cool so far at any rate. To just like hang out and chill out a bit. Everyone's gonna get a bit more tournament serious now, but it's good.
Yeah, some people will be prepping, other people will still be hanging out. Is it hard to find food at 10:30 at night, or you'll be able to?
I think it'll be easy. Like also in Europe, like it's just got like it's later kind of food culture. I'm sure there'll be some restaurants with some like tables and chairs outside on the street kind of thing.
Okay, nice, beautiful.
So no, what did you eat, Anushka?
I didn't have dinner, which was a bad idea. I was very hungry the entire round that I wasn't doing anything. And then I left and I got beans and rice and tomatoes and lettuce. It's just like the cafeteria food, which honestly was great. And Luis always says that beans and rice are a complete protein. So I feel very filled.
very complete.
Yes.
Yeah, so for any future rounds at this time that you want to try and make sure to eat dinner before the round if you can.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
For sure.
Even if it's a light dinner.
Yeah. Rachel and I were like running around like chickens with our heads cut off trying to figure out the stream stuff.
Yeah. That's tough.
Yeah, we missed like half the opening ceremony too. But now we know for next time.
Yeah.
I have to eat. We have to prep.
Yeah.
Not for chess, but for the stream.
For the stream, yeah.
Yeah. That's a whole factor I forgot about.
Fix my overlay. Yeah. It'll all be good.
But great.
Yeah.
This one's a mulligan.
How's Kostya doing? I looked at his game. Was he a piece down?
He has
Am I going mad?
3 pawns against the knight.
Right. Yeah, because I just glanced as I walked past and I saw like the extra piece on the side of the board. Didn't count like the rest of the material, but I was just like, and then I didn't want to dwell on it in case he was down a piece and just saw me lurking. So I just saw zip past.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. That's interesting. Oh, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go check.
I think he's got a very good endgame because on the last move, Camille, I think, played in the wrong direction with rook to d8, trading the last rook. But a lot of people don't understand that when you've got a piece against a bunch of pawns, sometimes you need to use your piece to win in the middle game. And they think, like, I'm ahead on material. I will trade towards an endgame.
Trade down.
But even when it's knight against 2 pawns, often they're wrong. Often the knight can't beat 2 pawns in the endgame. Very rare, honestly.
Yeah.
That'll
like
typically be a draw. But 3 pawns, I mean, why would you think you're ahead material? Knight against 3 pawns, you know? Ooh.
Wow. Okay, this looks okay. Yeah, Anusha's got it up, so I can see where things are happening. Oh wow! Oh, what a game! Like, what an imbalance. At any rate. Oh, interesting.
Looks fun for Kostya to play.
Yeah, exactly. If if we gave you this on Endgame Sensei and said, start off by evaluating who's better and why, it looks much more fun for white. But it's a little bit too bad because the girl played like a genius here a couple moves before. She offered like an A pawn for Kostya to snack, and then when he snacked it, I guess you guys can probably click through a few moves. Go to move 17 where Kostya eats her A pawn.
We're there.
Queen takes A7.
Queen takes A7, and it looked like she'd like sort of fallen into it because she allowed him Queen A4, double attacking her pawns, right? Then he takes it, but she has Rook F4 prepared, and then the Queen is trapped on A7 after D6. So that was amazing. He had to sack back a rook to get his queen out of this. And so therefore, to me, on move 21, we've got this super complicated position thanks to brilliant moves by both sides. And rook d8's a bit of a letdown, right? Because now she goes in the wrong direction towards an endgame. When what you need to do with the knight in this position is you need to attack Kostya's king. You're never going to beat him on the queen side here. You're not going to pick off these 3 passed pawns. So you have to do moves like knight f5, and then, e3 or queen f7 or stuff in that direction.
Amazing. All right. So do you, in terms of, is it a kind of grind, or are the pawns just going to start steamrolling and things will just start moving quite quickly?
It might be a little bit slow motion, but I would expect that he's already ready to play b4 here on his next move. So we'll start to see some motion. I'm just seeing, folks, it's time for me to go pick up the kids. And I have to shuttle them to the after school program and then come back. So
no worries.
I'm going to push off and then come back to look at Kostya's endgame. All right.
Amazing. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, David, and we'll catch you later.
Bye, David.
Bye. Have a good evening.
Thanks. Have a good afternoon.
Yeah. Cheers.
Bye.
Okay, folks. So you heard it. I'm going to have to stop for a moment here. I don't know if anyone noticed, but in the corner, for those who care, Duda and Gukesh, they drew this completely bonkers, insane game. That would be a lot to calculate and look at some point, but I've got to run pretty quickly. I'll be back